So I'm going to log in from scratch to the QuickBooks Online test drive. I'm showing you this so you realize I'm starting from scratch. In other words, transactions from other videos that I have entered into QuickBooks Online are not in the test drive now. Why? Because every time you start the test drive, it starts from scratch. Anyway, so in this video, we're going to learn about how to make a deposit, a bank deposit. So to do that, we're just going to click on New, and then under Other, you're going to click on Bank Deposit. You're going to change the date. You're going to choose the bank account that you're going to deposit to, and then you're just going to click over here on the checks that you are wanting to deposit. It's that simple. But let me give you an explanation about what's going on here, because most traditional accounting textbooks just skip over this undeposited funds account that we've been using. So let me refresh your memory about the undeposited funds account. So the undeposited funds account, which we can see here in the chart of accounts, here's the undeposited funds account. It currently has $2,062.52 in it. And if we wanted to see what makes up this $2,062.52, we could click View Register, and we see that the $2,062.52 is made up of two checks, one from Cool Cars and one from Freeman Sporting Goods. So how did these two checks get here? Well, there's two ways possible that money could get into the undeposited funds account. One is when a customer comes into our business and buys a product or service from us and pays right away, we would use a sales receipt window. So when we use a sales receipt window, the undeposited funds account would increase with a debit. And remember, the undeposited funds account is simply your cash register or locked box or safe at your place of business. And then the revenue account would increase with a credit. The other way that we could possibly get checks from customers are when we use a receive payments window. But remember, we can't use the receive payments window unless we had invoiced the customer first. So when we invoice them, that means they're going to buy something from us, a product or a service, but they're not going to pay us at that moment. So when we use the invoice window will increase accounts receivable with a debit, and then it will also increase the revenue account, depending on what you sold them. And then later, when we use the receive payments window, the debit account is undeposited funds going up, in other words, our cash register. So we take the cash or the check from the customer, we place it in the cash register or the lockbox or the safe, and then the undeposited funds account is going up with a debit, and then accounts receivable would go down with a credit. So when we use the deposit window, which again is at New, and then under Other, we click on Bank Deposit. What's happening here is that when we choose to deposit these two checks, this account, whatever checking account or bank account that we choose to put in, we could put it in savings, will increase with a debit, and then the undeposited funds account will decrease with a credit. So let's start from scratch now. Now we're ready for our first deposit. So here's our task. On February 28th, 2028, Craig's Design and Landscaping Services deposits all collections for the month. So when it comes time to make a bank deposit in the real world, you would just take the checks and cash from your cash register, and you would go to the bank, make the deposit, come back to your office, and use the deposit slip to enter this transaction. So to enter the bank deposit, you're going to go to New, and under Other, you're going to click on Bank Deposit. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make sure that you're depositing to the correct account, and we want to deposit to the checking account. And then I'm going to tab over to the date, The date was 02/28/2028, which stands for, after I tab, February 28th, 2028. And then the only thing else we have to do is decide, well, which of these checks do we want to cash? Now, if this, you could just individually select them right here, like I'm doing, or you could click here to select them all, or you could just click the select all button, and you can always use the clear all button if you want to undo it. But let's just click the select all button, so it's going to deposit both this Cool Cars $1,600 check and the Freeman Sports $387 check, and that's all there is to it. So we just need to click Save and Close. So I'm going to choose Save and Close from the drop-down menu. And then if we wanted to see the debits and credits, we just run a journal report. So let's do that really quick. I'm going to go to Reports. I'm going to type Journal over here. I'm going to choose Journal. And then I don't want to see all this other stuff. So I want to see just the transactions on 02/28/2028, which was the date we did the deposit. And then change the other date to the same date, 02/28/2028, tab. And then here we go. Here's our journal entry for that deposit. The checking account went up by $2,062.52, and the undeposited funds account went down for both of those checks, one for $1,675.52 and one for $387. So that's how easy it is to do a bank deposit in QuickBooks Online.